Hi everyone, welcome to another one of our LinkedIn Live events. Today's topic is going to be 8 money blocks, specifically invisible money blocks that are controlling you and how can you come out of them. Now, if there is something about a money block, specifically a hidden money block that you need to understand, is that unless and until we are not aware about it, it's very difficult to come out of them. When it comes to money blocks, we only tend to recognize the things that we have heard and seen from our parents, from our culture, from the society. And that is why a lot of people, specifically the ones that I work with, I think it should be fine now. Yeah, I kind of lost connection there. Uh, yeah, you guys will have to bear with me. So as I was saying, that whenever I'm coaching people, a common thing, a common reaction that I tend to get from them is that I never had any idea that this would be, coming in my money reality, or I had no idea that this particular emotion from this area of my life is affecting the way I handle my finances. It's affecting the way I invite money into my life. All of that, right? So you have to understand something about money is that it is not just in the way you recognize it. It is also in the invisible hidden patterns that you're probably unconsciously practicing or exhibiting or manifesting, but you are not really aware of. So in our life today, my goal is to make you aware of 8 money blocks that I've consistently seen come up again and again in my consultation calls with my clients. However, something to understand is that you may relate with more than one. You may relate with all of them. You may relate with half of them, based on the amount of inner work you have done. If you are somebody who has done deep inner work, and I say deep inner work, which means that you have actually gotten trauma informed coaching done on you, then you will notice that you have been able to work through a lot of them. You will be able to recognize it. You will be also able to see that, I've been able to work with half of them and not work with half of them, whatever, wherever you are in your inner work journey. The second thing to understand is that when it comes to money blocks, knowing about them is not enough, right? We actually need to understand how do we come out of them, and that is what our goal is going to be today. Okay. um Let me just check if we are doing fine internet wise, and then we are going to start. And if you are attending this live for the very first time, what we do is I explain to you a topic in depth, and you can ask me as many questions as you want. And if you're watching this as a recording, you can ask me any questions that you want in the YouTube comment section where it is uploaded. Or if you are not a part of my community, specifically my WhatsApp community called the Safe Space, where we are doing free group coaching from this Sunday, which is tomorrow. If you're not there inside, go join us there, and you will also be welcomed inside. Okay, just give me one moment. All right, I think we're fine now, so we can start. We have a pet. We have a pet cat, and he was in my room and he was meowing, so I had to kind of open my room so that he could go out. Anyway, let's start. Okay, so if I ask you, what does money mean to you, what would you tell me? I ask this question often to people, and I hear many definitions, many examples. And I often tend to ask people that, what does money mean to you personally? And I get very interesting answers like, money means freedom to me, money means self-respect to me, money means that I will be able to get anything I want, money means freedom to me, money means that I will not be under someone's control, money means options to me. I get many answers. And because I get many answers, something that you should understand is that money is not linear, or money is not something that is same to each one of us. Based on the life we have led, we equate money with different things in our life, right? Money in itself is nothing but a medium of exchange, right? A long time back, as I mentioned again and again, we used to have a barter system, and because the barter system did not work in an economy, because it's difficult, right? With all the logistics and with all the figuring out and everything, we came up with fiat currency, and that is why we use money as a medium of exchange. So in itself, money has no meaning. Today, if we decided together that what, we are going to use mangoes in our economy to kind of facilitate exchange of goods and services, now then you will start worrying about mangoes, whether I have enough mangoes, whether I have a backyard where mangoes can grow and whatever. So money is just a simple medium of exchange. However, money means different things to us based on the stories we have lived so far. And the meaning that you derive from money comes from the stories that surrounded money. So, for example, if you grew up in a house where money was always something that was feared, right? Like your parents were very fearful that they will lose money. They were very fearful that money is getting wasted, or they always used to doubt themselves whether they made the right choice or not, or they used to do a lot of discount hunting, always bargaining, always waiting for the last moment to buy something. So, what is happening is that then you are witnessing an environment where money is equated with a lot of fear. Like you don't trust yourself with money, and you also don't trust money, and you also don't trust other people. You always think that somebody's out to get me. When you grow up in an environment like that, for example, then your money story is going to be around scarcity, right? You're always going to fear that people are going to take advantage of me. I should be very, very careful. I should never ever spend money on myself until I've thought about it 100 times, and stuff like that. Similarly, let's say if you grew up in a house where your parents trusted themselves with money, and they instilled good belief systems about money to you, that they told you that money is important, but more important than money is your comfort, your convenience, and the kind of life you're living. And they trusted you with money. They taught you about money from a very logical, objective perspective, right? There was not a lot of fear around money. When that is the case, your relationship with money is going to be excellent. You are going to understand money as a tool. You're not going to look at it as a source of self worth, right? So we all have lived different stories in our childhood, right? So based on the story you have lived, you are going to equate that story and project onto money. Why? Because you have to understand that money does not have a mouth of its own. It is not a living entity, right? So whatever feelings you have around money, it is not about money. It is in your childhood, right? It is the kind of experiences that you have had growing up, specifically around your parents, right? And in your household. So whatever your relationship with money is right now, if you believe that money is very difficult, or money is so hard to earn that I don't like to talk about money, why is Rianchi talking about money? This makes me so uncomfortable. Why do we have to talk about money at all? Whatever your feelings are around money, okay? Or maybe you are somebody who really wants money, you feel desperate about it, but it doesn't come in your life. Or you're objective about money. Whatever your feelings about money are, right? It is not about money, right? It is about your relationship with yourself. And your relationship with yourself developed, and the blueprint of it developed a long time back when you were a child, right? So whatever your relationship with money is, it reflects whether you have uh, whether you have had a healthy self-esteem, whether you have worked on your childhood trauma, or whether you have childhood trauma or not. So whatever your relationship with money is comes from that. Another point I want to talk about before I go on to the money blocks is that money is something that you don't earn. Money is something that you allow yourself to receive. Okay, I'll say it again. Money is not something you earn, it is something you allow yourself to receive. A lot of times, people who don't share a good relationship with money tend to think that money is something that you have to chase, that you have to go after, that you have to work very hard for, right? Instead of actually opening themselves up to receive money from all the avenues, right? So, your receiving, like how open you are to receiving money, comes from your parents, specifically your mother. In the last live event, I spoke about money and the mother wound. If you haven't watched that, go watch that. You'll understand it better, the concept of receiving. But money is something that you allow yourself to receive, right? So when you say, right, that I want more money, it is not about what you're supposed to do more, like what backbreaking work you're supposed to do. It is about whether I'm ready to receive more. Most people tend to think they want something, but they are not ready to receive it. When I say ready, I don't mean saying yes or no. I mean, are you the person who can actually hold the abundance that you want? Do you have habits like this? Do you have personality like that? Do you think about yourself that way, that you can hold the abundance that you're wanting? Right? A lot of people think that, I want this amount of money, that amount of money, and I really, really want that. But when you look at their personalities, when you look at the level of inner work, when you look at the amount of unhealed trauma that they have, you will clearly see that they are not at the level of the desire that they have. And that is why there is nothing to run after, there's nothing to chase. The only thing that is there is to become the version of yourself that can hold your goals, that can hold your desires, right? Wherein you are not freaked out about it. Like if you see somebody who truly has wealth, and you see somebody who has a good relationship with money, you will see that they think a certain way, right? They think in an abundant way. They make decisions like that. They move like that. They're very secure about it, So when you see the money that they have, you also need to see the person that they are. Most people only look at what they want, they don't look at who they are. Because you have to understand that whatever you have in life right now and whatever you don't, it is a result of who you are as a person. Because who you are as a person takes certain decisions, have certain emotions, you take certain actions, and as a result of those certain decisions and actions, your financial reality is shaped, right? So this is a little bit of context that I wanted to give. I have done a lot of live events in the past on money. You go to my YouTube channel, simply type live events on money, and you will find that. And the last one I did was on money and the mother wound. Again, an excellent live event. Go watch that too. Today, I want to talk to you about 8 hidden money blocks that you may not be aware of, that you are probably carrying and it's keeping you stuck. Okay. Before I start, I will again check whether we are fine internet wise. Okay, I think we're doing fine. All right, let's start. The first money block is money is very difficult to earn, right? This is where whenever you think of money, or whenever you think of, this is what I would want in my life, or this is the kind of financial reality I want in my life, your first thought is it's going to be very exhausting, it's going to lead to burnout, it's going to be very difficult, it's not going to be easy, right? Now what happens when you have this block is that you are somebody who, you are very likely to give up. Okay, you're very likely to give up before you start. You're very likely to keep on procrastinating. You're very likely to be somebody who shuts down ideas because you keep on thinking it's not going to be easy. And you, like, half the time or most of the time, your fight is not, or your energy is not going towards making money. Your energy is going into fighting the exhaustion that you're already feeling, right? The exhaustion does not come from money, making money. The exhaustion comes from this thought, constant thought, it's going to be so difficult, nothing will work out, this is so hard, it will not work for me, and all of that stuff, right? This block is something that is very internal, right? Like, sometimes some people also convince themselves that this is true, that money is very hard to earn. When you constantly have that block, what tends to happen is that not only will you give up easily, even if you decide to not give up, you will consistently unconsciously choose harder paths because you don't actually believe easy things can exist, right? For example, let's say that I want to buy an ice cream, okay? And there is a shop that I tend to go to, which is 10 kilometers away, and there is a new shop that's open, which is 500 meters away from me. Now, if I'm somebody who's open minded, and if I'm somebody who believes that, you know what, I can get whatever I want, right? It doesn't have to be difficult. If I believe that, I will first check in with the shop that is nearby me, right? And I will allow myself to go there. I will allow myself to experience what they have to offer, and then I will make a decision, right? Whereas if I'm somebody who's very rigid, I'm somebody who believes that no, easy things cannot happen, right? I'm going to go to a shop that's 10 kilometers away. Why? Because I don't believe that things that are near to me, um, the shop that is near to me will have the ice cream that I want, or will even have ice creams of different brands that I might end up liking, or I don't even want to consider it because I've already convinced myself that this is something that's not going to happen, right? So this is obviously a very simplistic example, but the point I'm trying to tell you is that when you believe that money is hard, you will unconsciously choose harder paths. Think about the people who take on extra work. Think about the people who keep on working hard instead of just asking for the promotion that they want, who keep on hoping that if I work very, very hard, people will look at me, right? All of these are unconscious manifestations of the same belief. Money is hard, right? And it manifests in multiple different ways. It can manifest in you working ridiculously hard when somebody else just takes help, right? For example, let's say you and your friend is doing working on the same project. You are somebody who believes that no, I have to do it all alone, only then my boss will appreciate me. And your friend believes that, you know what, I can take help. He goes, takes help from 2 3 other people, gets the work done faster, and also tells the manager about it. Whereas you are working harder than him, taking longer than him, and also does not do not and also you do not get the visibility or the appreciation. What is it? Who is smarter here? A lot of people who believe that money is difficult to earn also tend to believe that they have more integrity, or that they know about the world more, or that they're somehow more moral. When in reality, the truth is that that belief is keeping you stuck. It's making your life life difficult, and it's keeping you into this cycle of burnout and exhaustion. So if you constantly believe money is hard, then it is keeping you stuck. Now, I don't want to go into a lot of history today, but the reason this tends to happen a lot, that when you believe money is hard, is when receiving love, attention, and presence from your parents has been hard. See, as I told you, that you learn to receive money by the way you have learned to receive love and attention and presence from your parents growing up. Okay, when that was very difficult, which means that you had to work very hard for the love and attention. They were always busy, or they were always, busy with household chores or work, or their attention was always on something else, maybe on some other family members or on themselves. Maybe they were always fighting. For whatever reason, their love, attention, and presence did not come easily to you. Right? You had to work very hard for it. You had to either throw a tantrum, you had to achieve something extraordinary to have their praise and attention and love, or you had to constantly perform. When that is the case, the blueprint that you understand about life is that it's very difficult to receive things. I will have to work very hard. And as a result, growing up, when you think of making money also, that is the blueprint you come from. The blueprint that you come from, it's going to take back breaking work, and the exhaustion has already started there. Right? The exhaustion is not coming from work, the exhaustion is not coming from making money, the exhaustion is not coming from the skills that you need to develop. The exhaustion is coming from internal belief system. Right? It is the fact that you've already assumed so much exhaustion that you're already exhausted by the thought of it, and that's meaningless exhaustion. And that is why people who have this block tend to get exhausted very easily without doing any work. They will make up things in their head and they will get exhausted. They will start and then they will give up. Right? So when you're constantly exhausted by the thought of it, it means that that's the block that's sitting. Now, some questions that you need to ask yourself to understand this is, and if you still believe that this block is not something that you have, and you believe that no, making money is difficult for me, a few questions I wanted to ask yourself is it really the skill of making money that is difficult, or is it other things that are around it? Right? Is it the skills that are difficult, like the skill that you need to develop to make money, or is it the fact that you keep on expecting something, that you keep on expecting that this will happen, that will happen, so you are over preparing in your head that something will go wrong. Right? Second is making money hard, or your expectations around it? Right? That this should happen very fast, this should happen very quick, that the world and god should prove something to me, that no, my work will create results. Is that the kind of race you are in? Like, you're testing universe, you're testing god, you're testing something, that I have done this much work, it is not happening, so now I will give up. Are you waiting for that? Are you waiting for some sort of self sabotage like that? Right? Third is making money hard, or is it the path that you keep on choosing? This is a very important question. See, because making money is a skill, you have to understand. Money follows value. If you create value in any form in this world, you're going to get money. And you can think of anything here, right? Excuse me, I have cold. Think of influences during COVID, right? Now, if you look at it a, from a point of view of, let's say, education or academia, no, what they were doing doesn't really help anyone, right? Or doesn't really create a long term difference. But during COVID, people wanted distraction, and that is why influencers gain a lot of leverage. They made an insane amount of money. Similarly, let's say, for example, the makeup industry or the skincare industry, which is booming right now in India as well. The reason it is booming is that because people actually do want to feel good. They want to feel that they want to feel rich instead of actually being rich. So the skincare industry is off the charts. The makeup industry is off the charts, right? Or let's say the fast food brands that were doing so well for the past 10-20 years are not doing that well right now. It is the healthy brands are doing well. Why? Because now the population wants to eat healthier. The point is that whenever you create something that is valuable to somebody, and see, people can value anything. Okay, there is adult industry that makes a lot of money. People, models on OnlyFans have made so much money. People have made money from anything, right? So when you judge less about how people are making money and you become more open to the value I can create, you open those blocks up. Right? Now, this will not make a lot of sense to you right now if you have struggled with childhood trauma. So the answer to you is that you have to do inner work so that you can come to this point. But the point is that the people who make money are people who are objective about money, not emotional about money, not judgmental about money, not judging the source where it is coming from. They are genuinely looking at money as a tool, right? They're looking at what is working, what is it that I'm good at, and what can make money. But when you have childhood trauma, There's a lot of emotions around it, right? It's going to be hard, it's going to be difficult, I'm not worth it, XYZ things. Now, coming to the second block, the second money block, and this is something that may look like independence, or that may look like what do you call it, self respect. It's rejecting support. So I'll tell you something interesting. So I have spoken to a lot of people around their money blocks, and a common thing that I've seen there is that a lot of people who tend to struggle with money blocks the hardest are people who feel shame around taking help. Now, what do I mean by taking help? Taking help could be, asking money from their parents, asking money from their friends, asking money from their partner, basically taking help, or even taking out a loan. They think that they they don't want to ask help because they have self respect, or because I'm an independent person. They tend to use labels like reality. Deep, it is a lot of shame, it is a lot of disbelief, it is a lot of, I will not accept support, right? I will not accept support of any kind. They judge the fact that they require help. And I'll tell you a funny thing. um, Whenever I'm speaking to people who have this block, I often ask them that, is there somebody who you really like, in terms of, you like the way they have managed money and everything? And I get a lot of answers. And a question I ask to people like that is, when you look at their life, do you think that they did not have help in their life? Like they did not have parents who helped them, or they did not take help from their parents or partner or friends, or even took out a loan. Do you really think that? And the answer I get is very surprising. They see that the people they admire the most are people who took help the most. They did not hide behind the the blanket of self-respect, which in reality is rejecting support because you feel shame, right? So when you are that person, when you believe that, no, I will not invest in myself, because I can't take help. So you have to understand that, anybody who has ever done consistently well in their life, they're very open to taking help. They don't judge that. Why? Because they understand that you can't grow alone. There is nobody who grew alone. People you see are doing very well are people who had privilege, right? People who had privilege, people who weren't trying to, feel holier than thou or feel morally superior. They were not in that race, because they were not battling with this insecurity that we will not take help. They actually took help. They used that help to their advantage and grew even further. Whereas people who are always debating that, no, I will not take help. What will this person think of me? What if I'm never able to give back that money and all of that stuff? When you think all of this, right, what you do is that you kind of stagnate your growth even further, because you have a big receiving block. You judge the source from where money is coming from, right? When you reject help, what you're essentially doing is that, I will not allow anyone to help me. Only I am the one who can help myself. And the funny thing is, you can't help yourself always. It's not possible. You are not somebody who's 1,000 years old. You're not somebody who's the richest person on the planet. When you are starting out, you do need help. You need help from people who have done things in their life. You need help from people who want to help you, who love you. And you take that help and you grow even further. That's the best gift to yourself and to other people. But when you have this block, right, when you believe that, I can't invest in myself, I can't invest in my inner work, or I can't invest in my skill set, or I can invest in anything because I don't have the money. A question I would really like you to ask yourself is, do you really not have support in your life? Do you really not have somebody who can help you out, or you don't want to take the help? Because the answer I often get is the latter. I don't want to take the help. And it is because there's a lot of shame and there's a lot of heaviness around it, right? And the shame and heaviness also comes from childhood, when you were looked down upon, or when you were shamed, or when you were rejected specifically by your parents, when you asked for help or when you needed their help, or when you were consistently told that money is being wasted on you, or when you were consistently made to feel scarcity about being money being spent on you, or when there was, like, you were consistently told that spending money on you is a burden. When these experiences are the experiences that you have went through, it is very difficult to want to receive help, right? And you may not even ask for help, and you may think that I'm doing it all on my own. You are not, right? You're just staying in struggle. You're delaying your success, because doing it all alone does not work out for anyone. I will tell you personally, if I tell you about my career, if I tell you about my journey, in the first year of my business, because I was just starting out, I did not have any backing or something like that. I stayed at my home. I stayed at my home which is something that my father has built, right? So I did not have to pay rent. I did not have to pay for food. My parents did support me, right? And because my parents supported me in the first year of my business, I there was a lot of sufficiency inside of my heart, and as a result of it, I used all of that energy. And I even took a loan from my father to invest in my inner work and in my business. I used it and I grew even further. I gave that back, that money. I made a lot more money. I moved to a different city. I moved to Bangalore. Now I'm doing much better, right? Much well, far better than the amount of the small loan that I took from my father. And when I look back and I think about, if I would not have done that, I would have had to go back to that stupid job that I was doing, and I would be making one fifth of what I'm making right now. What I'm trying to tell you is that um, I've personally never met anybody who has done consistently well in life who has done it alone. But I have met countless people. See, I come from a business family, so I've had a chance to speak to a lot of people who have started from zero, right? Me myself included, even though I'm not saying I've done a lot, but I started from zero, and I myself have taken help a lot of times. I've invested in my network. I've taken help from my coaches. I've taken help from my parents, right? I've allowed myself to take help, and because of that help, I have grown further. Without it, I wouldn't be anywhere, because where would I get help? So the point I'm trying to make you is that, if you don't have the support, if you don't have the finances to invest in yourself, do you really also not have people in your life who can help you, or do you not want to take the help? Because there are some difficult feelings around it. And if that is the case, then you need to work on it. There is deep inner work that you need to do so that you can release that shame, because that shame lives in your body. See, it's not mental. A lot of people understand this concept intellectually. Like, now that I'm speaking to you, maybe you understand this concept intellectually, that yeah, I should ask for help. But the heaviness that you feel, because trauma lives in the body, right? The heaviness you feel in your body is what is trauma, and that lives in your body, and that can only be healed systemically through deep inner work, which is what we do in trauma informed coaching sessions. So if you are struggling to ask for help, first is, it's not independence. It does not mean that you're doing it on your own. It just means that it is a big money block. People who consistently do well are people who take help, right? Who don't attach shame to it. Come on, I mean, honestly, anybody I've ever known, in fact, you yourself can go and see, anybody who you must have seen has done very well financially. They were people who were not ashamed to take out loans, who were not ashamed to ask for help. They did well. Now, I'm not saying that you blatantly take money from people and sit at home. Of course, I'm not saying that. Don't be that person. But um, I'm talking about allowing yourself to take help so that you can grow even further and faster. Because when you try to do it alone, you will take years, right? And somebody who allows themselves to take help, they will take the help. They will grow much faster than you. They will make more money than you, purely because they don't attach shame to it. Now, the second question I wanted to ask yourself when you have this block is, are you really being independent, or are you just struggling? Because I have found that people who tend to have this block are always struggling, right? They're struggling. They delay their growth. They delay their inner work. They delay taking help. And as a result, the time that they could have spent, right, creating more financial success, creating an easy life, they just spend it on struggling. Because, again, right, I will not take help. That I'm independent, or that I cannot, receive help. I want to do it on my own. You're not doing anything on your own, right? It is simply struggling. And it's very important to call it what it is, right? Now, coming to the next block, being rigid about where money can come from. Okay, I just want to check again if you're doing fine internet wise. I can't see if it is fine or not for some reason. Let me check. Okay, I'm back. I think we are fine. All right, let's continue. The next block is being rigid about money, where money can come from. So let's say you're doing a job, okay, or let's say you're doing a business. Are you somebody who believes that money can only come to me through this one way, which is, I make money through my business or I make money through my job? This is called being rigid, because the truth is money can come to you through any way, through any means. But when you become rigid, right, that no, money can only come through this way. Now it could be because you're judgmental, that you judge that what I'm doing is superior than anything else I can do, or you judge the fact that money can only come to me when I am earning, if somebody is supporting me, if somebody is helping me, or if I've invested money. Because I was just talking to a client of mine who believed that the money that is invested, and the fixed amount of money that she's getting every month is somehow not her income, or somehow the money that she should not believe is hers, right? And as a result of that, she was consistently struggling with insufficiency. She was consistently feeling like she was in this artificial scarcity, right? She was in this artificial scarcity where she wasn't willing to accept the privilege that she had in life. And as a result of that artificial scarcity, there was this whole loop of anxiety, overthinking, feeling bad about herself. So the energy that could have gone into growing was not going into growing. It was going into reeling into artificial scarcity. So when you become rigid, right, when you judge the source, when you believe that no, money that comes from what I am earning is superior, and if it comes from, let's say, if somebody supports me, or if it comes from my investments, it's somehow not that. When you become rigid, you stay stuck in artificial scarcity, right? And you also block money from your life. If you really look at abundant people, they allow money to flow into their life from any place, right? They're not they're not um, they're not rigid about where money comes from, right? Like they're okay doing side hustles, they're okay taking up anything, they're okay receiving help, they're okay calling their investments as their own money, whatever it is, right? They don't live in artificial scarcity, because you have to understand, you can't create money from scarcity. You can only create it from sufficiency. From scarcity, you will just create struggle. And that's why when you're constantly stuck in this scarcity mindset, you're constantly going to struggle for money. You're constantly going to feel that it's not enough, nothing is enough. So when you become rigid, and ask yourself, am I rigid? Like, do I believe the only way to make money is just through my job? Are there other paths and ways that exist, but I don't want to explore? Or I don't want to accept help in my life, or I don't want to think my investments as my own money? Because if that is the case, then you're rigid, and rigidity creates artificial scarcity creates anxiety, and anxiety creates insecurity about money, and insecurity about money creates you consistently taking bad financial decisions. Now I want to mention here, bad financial decisions don't just mean that you're losing money in stock market or gambling or whatever, right? Bad financial decisions are decisions where you are not able to think long term, where you're not able to invest in the greatest resources, which is you. People who are stuck in artificial scarcity, they keep on struggling because they don't invest in themselves, they don't invest in their mind and brain, right? You have to understand that who you are right now is a result of your personality, right? When you don't invest in improving that, right, when you don't invest in expanding your mindset, healing your traumas, when you don't invest in yourself, you stay stuck in struggle, right? So it's a vicious loop, you understand? It's a vicious loop that I don't want to struggle, but I also don't want to invest in myself. I don't want to invest in myself, so I'm struggling. So it goes like this. So when you stay stuck in artificial scarcity, it does not mean that you want to be independent, or you are self-driven. No, it does not mean that. It just means that you are disguising it as ambition, but it's in fact artificial scarcity and struggling. So ask yourself, am I being rigid? Am I judging the sources of money that are there in my life? Can I take help and grow faster? The next money block is believing that money is too difficult, too complex. I don't understand it, I won't be able to handle it. This is where people who tend to think that I just don't want to look at my bank account, I don't know how to manage my money, I'm not good with it, or I just don't understand how money works, or thinking that I don't like to talk about money. See, money is as neutral as, let's say, this pack of chewing gum that I have. It's neutral. If I'm talking to you about a pack of chewing gum, it's chewing gum. But what feelings does that chewing gum, like, bring inside of you? People who tend to run away from conversations around money, conversations around managing money, are people who tend to believe that money is some sort of a complex, Pandora box that they don't know how to open, right? Nothing about money is complicated. But when you run away from it, oh, I'm so sorry. something happened. When you run away from it, what tends to happen is that you make money some this mysterious unicorn in your head that is too difficult. Like as if you're chasing something in the dark. Money is not that. So when you believe that money is too difficult, too complex, what again tends to happen is that you may resist making good money in your life because you will feel that I don't know how to manage it, or I will end up losing it all, or somebody else will take that money. Then this is also a very very um, interesting block. So I'll tell you something. I was once working with somebody, and she was in a relationship that was not healthy, and the one of the major difficulties that was there in her marriage specifically was financial control, wherein her partner used to take away all the money that she used to make, this particular client of mine. And as a result of it, like she was struggling with a lot of money blocks. But a major block that came up was that she used to believe that it doesn't matter how hard she works or whatever she does for her life, it will end up in her husband's account, because she will end up still struggling because somebody else has the control of her finances, right? So the point I'm trying to make is, if you have blocks like this, if you believe that I'm not good with money, or it will not anyway stay in my life, or I will end up losing it all, again, it's a hidden money block, right? Because of this, you are not taking the chances that you're not going after the things that you actually deserve. So ask yourself, do I believe that? Do I believe that money is difficult, money is complex? Because nothing about money is complex, right? And this belief often comes from childhood, when you are constantly told that you don't know how to handle money. A lot of women tend to feel this more often than men, that you don't know how to handle money, or that you're not good with money, or that money is too difficult, let it be, or that you're not somebody who can handle things on your own. When you grow up listening to all of this, you may end up believing that money is something that is very difficult, that is very complex, but in reality it's not, right? The next money block is believing that if I want more money, or if I prioritize money in my life, I'm selfish, or that I'm evil, or that I'm, materialistic, or basically looking down or judging yourself or other people for prioritizing money. Right? When you do that, when you look at people who have boundaries because they take their work and they take their financial reality seriously, or when you judge yourself that if I prioritize money, and because of which I form boundaries in my life because I want to focus on my career, or I want to invest in myself. And if you think that that makes you selfish, then it's a big, big money block. Because again, what you are saying is that if I make money, I will be a bad person, or I will be an evil person, or I will be a selfish person. So that is a complete contrast. You want money, but you also don't want to be somebody, you also don't want to expand your personality, because what you consider selfish is somebody who actually knows how to take good decisions. Because when you don't prioritize yourself, when you don't invest in yourself, of course you're not going to make money. So when you judge yourself or other people for that, right? For example, if you see that somebody consistently invests in themselves, right, instead of, let's say, gifting expensive things to other people, or spending it on other people, it is not somebody who's selfish. It is somebody who believes in prioritizing their self-preservation. It is somebody who understands that if they don't nourish themselves, then nothing is worth it. What's the point of doing anything at all? So if you believe that the person I'm supposed to become to invite money in my life means that I will become selfish, then of course it's a big hidden money block, right? And again, this comes from the upbringing that you have had. If you have seen people, your parents specifically, or your relatives, or the upbringing that you had, you saw people judging others, that, oh, look at this person, they're so selfish, they keep on spending money on themselves. Or look at this person, she's so selfish that she has boundaries and she doesn't do household chores enough. Or look at this man, he's so selfish, he's spending money on his physical health, and how wasteful and all of that. When you've heard comments like this, then you also start to judge other people, and when you judge other people, you will also block abundance in your life. That's why judging others never works out. Whenever you judge other people, you are essentially blocking abundance in your life as well, right? Now, next block is believing that I don't have what it takes to make money, or believing that I'm not deserving of it, or I'm not worthy of it, or that I'm not somebody who has what it takes. When you believe things like this, again, comes from your childhood, comes from the upbringing that you've had, comes from low self-worth and a lack of belief. Something that I wanted to ask yourself is that, what do you think people who make money have? What do you think is special about them? And I really want you to pause this video if you're watching this as a recording and ask yourself, What do you think people who make consistent money are in life? Like what kind of personalities do they have? What do they have? I want you to pause and answer this question for yourself. And when you play this video, right, I wanted to understand that people who make money, they do so because of two reasons. One is they nurture their skill set, core skill set. What is a skill set? A skill set is something that in exchange of people give you money, right? Which means that you could either be selling a service or a product or anything that you do for the world that the world considers valuable, you will get paid for it. Second is an abundant personality, abundant mindset. Somebody who makes consistently money is somebody who's not emotional about it, somebody who does not tie their self-worth with it. It is somebody who looks at it as a tool, somebody who does not judge the source of it, somebody who allows themselves to take all the help that they deserve. Those are the qualities that are common in every person you will see who makes consistent money, right? So when you think that I don't have what it takes to make money, right, ask yourself, do I not have any skill set that will pay me money? One is that. Second is, do I not have the abundant mindset? Do I have a very unhealthy relationship with money? And whatever it is that you believe you have to work on that, because there's nothing magical or superficial about people who make money. This brings me to the next block, which is believing people who are lucky, tend to have money. That I'm not lucky enough, I'm not fortunate enough, I'm not, I'm just not the kind of person for whom things happen easily. When you believe that, you're again stuck in a scarcity mindset, right? You tend to think there is something magical that other people are doing, where in reality you don't see the amount of work they've put in, their personality, their inner work, as well as their skill set, right? And the privilege that you see from other people is the privilege that creates sufficiency inside of them. And a fun thing I will tell you is that you don't need to be born into a rich family to feel the sufficiency. The sufficiency is something that you can also create for yourself through inner work. That's an interesting thing. So what you admire among them, in them, is not just privilege. It is the fact that they can take bold risks, and they take bold risks because they feel sufficient. I have coached many people who came from really good families, who had a lot of money, but they lacked sufficiency, because sufficiency does not come from external sources. I mean, sure, it is something that can give you if you have had good upbringing, but if you came from money and you still had an upbringing where you were constantly made to feel scarcity about money, you will still struggle with sufficiency. So it is not the money that gives people sufficiency; it is their experience around it. So, as an adult right now, you have the chance to give yourself the privilege that other people have, the people who make money have, right? And that happens through inner work, that happens through healing the childhood trauma that is responsible for you equating money with self worth and other difficult emotions, right? Now, the last block is believing that no matter whatever I earn, it is never going to be enough, right? Believing that no matter what I do, whatever it is that I have, I will never have enough. And some manifestations of this block, also called as a scarcity block, is cutting corners, always looking for the cheapest option, always looking for discounts, always putting yourself in artificial scarcity, always putting yourself in struggle mode, always trying to save money. So your entire life and your entire energy is into how can I hoard money, how can I save money. For example, let's say you can take a cab to your office, but you take an auto. You can buy a good shirt from a great brand that will last for years, but no, you will choose for a cheaper shirt, right? And it'll get ruined in the next 1.5 year. You will have to buy it again, right? Similarly, if you go in a cab, you're mentally much more relaxed, you're more present at your work, you feel abundant. But when you're in an auto, you're constantly in this struggling mindset. You don't go and you're not fresh when you reach there. Similarly, the decisions that you make that comes from a place of I will grab a deal, or I want something on a discount, or it is a good deal that I'm getting. You don't think in terms of long term, right? You're not thinking in terms of what your vision is. You're thinking in terms of hoarding. Your win in life is not am I becoming the person, am I creating the life that I want to create, but it is on am I getting a good deal. So you take a lot of pride in saving money, you take a lot of pride in hoarding money, you take a lot of pride in bargaining. When you come from that mindset, you live in scarcity, and you also make decisions like that, right? You will not be somebody who will invest in yourself. And when you don't invest in yourself, of course you will not be able to expand your skill set and your personality. So when you're consistently in this scarcity mindset, something that really helps is to start making abundant decisions, right? Start asking yourself every single day, whenever you make a decision about spending money, ask yourself, when I make this decision, is this something that is good for me in long run when I look at it from a place of 5 years? Or is this something that I'm just doing because I feel that this is something that will give me a quick win, or it'll give me a quick dopamine high that I saved money? Always ask yourself that whatever decisions am I making, will I be proud of it when I look back after 5 years? Is this decision something that my future self will thank me for? And you will always have an answer. So that's it. Those were the 8 money blocks. I hope that you understood what I was talking about today. And I will continue to talk about money blocks in much more depth in my posts and in my videos and in my live events coming forward. The next live event that we're going to do is going to be on money and the father wound, but we are going to be talking about, how the father wound kind of stops your creation for money. In the mother wound, we spoke about how the mother wound leads to a receiving wound where you find it difficult to receive money, right? So take your time to sit with whatever we have spoken about today, and whatever insights and whatever questions that you may have, feel free to reach out. And if you would like to speak to me directly, and if you would like to receive coaching, join my free community, The Safe Space, where we are going to do a free group coaching every single month. And if you would like my help in overcoming your money blocks, you can DM me coaching to book a one-on-one session, or you can find the link to it in the feature section of my profile. Thank you so much for joining. Bye bye.